So I just got done replacing a 2012 Toyota Corolla fan, and I made a video of it, but it got messed up. So I thought I'd just do a quick overview of how I did it and some tips and tricks. And the first thing is that there's two ways you could swap the fan out. Is you could change out the motor and the itself, or you could swap it out with the whole shroud that the fan sits in. And honestly, if I had to redo it, I would just swap out the fan motor, because it's more difficult than I thought it would be to get out that whole shroud, that whole plastic shroud that it sits in. And the reason I say this is because that whole plastic shroud goes all the way down, and it sits underneath the radiator and the AC condenser. And so what you got to do is you got to take the AC condenser and pull it forward. You don't want to disconnect it. You just loosen it up and pull it all the way forward. And you have to pull out the radiator and the shroud together. And so I'll give you the quick steps on how you do it. This bracket right here on the top is going to have to come off. There's a bolt. There's two bolts on the top. There's two bolts on the top, and there's two bolts in the front, and then there's a bolt in the center, right where the latch is. You also have to take off this front that holds the bumper in place. There's some little plastic inserts, and then two screws, and you got to take that whole bar off. The next thing is you're going to have to remove the battery. I mean, I try to do it without removing the battery, and maybe you can, but it's much more difficult. So if possible, remove that battery. And you're going to have your hoses, you're going to have to disconnect those. You got to disconnect the radiator, so you're going to have to drain the fluid. So be sure you have a bucket ready for that. And so once you get that top bar off and you get all the hoses off and everything, you want to put the condenser. I pulled it all the way forward. You don't want to disconnect the condenser, the AC for the air conditioning. Just pull it all the way towards the front. I had some blocks, like some wood blocks, I just let it sit on. And you have to pull the radiator out and the shroud out all at the same time. There's two bolts on the bottom of the radiator that hold the shroud in, so you're going to have to take them off when you get off. There's also some connections over here for the wiring for the air conditioning control box, and another wire for going to the fan control module right here. And so once you get it out, you got to swap all the parts over to it, and then it goes back together the same way. And it's kind of a bit more involved than I thought it would be. This is why I'm saying, if I had to redo it, what I would do, and I seen a video on this that was just real fast, so I didn't pay much attention, but right here, where there's some clips between the radiator and the fan, you could get it. You won't get much space. You probably get like 3 inches or so, maybe 4 inches. You got to be real careful so you don't damage anything. But you just separate this plastic from the radiator, and you have three. You just replace the motor, and the motor has 3 Phillips screws, and it has 1 center screw on the shaft. I forget what size that was. I want to say like 7 or 8 millimeter. It's real small, and it's just a nut that sits on there. You just hold the fan, and you just counterclockwise, it'll come right off. And then you just have 3 screws that hold that motor in, and then of course the wiring harness. That actually, while it sounds kind of more complicated, or a little bit more at first, it's actually would be much more easier to do it that way. If I had to redo it, that's the way I would do it, because you have to take everything apart to get this thing out if you replace that whole plastic shroud, and there's just no way around it. So I just thought I'd give you my quick thoughts and basic overview of how it worked out for me. I wish that video would have turned out better and I had that, but unfortunately I don't. So that's basically it. If you have any questions, ask me down below and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.